And here we go.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Mike from the Super Wheeler Bros, and welcome back to another review of 24 Legacy, the event series run for 24. Today we're going to be taking a look at the final 3 hours, numbers 10 through 12, and we're going to be basically grading out the entire season as a whole. I was going to do a separate review for the whole season, but I think it would be good just to tie it in to this final review. So let's get right into it. I think the big thing that the final 3 hours of 24 Legacy did right was it kind of got rid of the reason that Eric's character was not being very three-dimensional, and that was his wife. She didn't really make too many appearances in the final 3 episodes. In fact, I believe she was only in the final episode. There was a lot of exciting things that did occur. I thought that Eric, Corey Hawkins, really came into his own and did a really, really good job leading up to the end of the show. The bad guys, I thought that, oh man. It's gonna sound a lot like I'm complaining about the end of the show. This season was very solid, and the final 3 episodes were, for the most part, very solid. A lot of action, a lot of tension. Jimmy Smits and Corey Hawkins and Miranda Otto and everybody at CTU were really great. I really thought that everybody did such a good job, and Jimmy Smits' character, John Donovan, Senator John Donovan, he was by far the best part of the show. And then, of course, Miranda Otto as Rebecca Ingram was also a very, very good part of the show. Getting into spoiler territory if you haven't seen the last episode, for sure, because this is where a lot of the gripes are going to come through, and some of the reviews from users that I've seen are kind of sharing my sentiment. I thought that the show kind of went out with a whimper, and it made the overall feeling of the season probably a little bit less than it should have been, because overall it was a very, very enjoyable show, and 24 made a very welcome return with 24 Legacy. But the final episode was just not very good. They really, really misused Carlos Bernard as Tony Almeida. I didn't like what they did with his character. I didn't like how they used him. He was just kind of there. The fight scene between he and Eric was good, but in the end, it didn't amount to nothing at all. And I think that was my biggest issue, is you got one of the most beloved characters in 24, besides Jack, probably the most beloved, and you really, really misused him quite a bit. And that definitely left a kind of a sour taste in my mouth a bit, I will say that. But just felt like it didn't really go anywhere. They were really searching for this emotional ending and this gut-wrenching, powerful ending with the loss of Rebecca. And though Miranda Otto was great as Rebecca Ingram, they did a really, really poor job of selling why you would even care when she's doing all these heinous things, including kidnapping the main bad guy's daughter and ordering all these bad things to happen. For as much as Senator John Donovan is against these things, he's blind when it comes to his wife. He's calling everybody else who he finds out who does these things disgusting, except for his wife. I mean, he challenges her a little bit, but that's it. And I thought that the way that they let her go, well, it was noble. Yeah, she took a bullet for Eric, but she tried to kill herself in one of the episodes. I didn't really like that. That was in the previous episode to the finale. And I didn't really much care for the way that they tried to send her off. They made it for this big emotional ending, and it just didn't happen. The man who Senator John Donovan was holding, trying to get to reveal the location of Rebecca, he ended up killing himself because he didn't want things exposed. I just don't understand why some of these people talk about how important what they're doing is, but then can't face the heat. It really bothers me. It's kind of a it's a cop-out almost a little bit. So that just, it doesn't sit well with me, and it creates really, really bad plot elements for these good characters you built up. such as Senator John Donovan. Well, now he's not dropping out of the race, but now he's going to face inquiries because he was there right before the guy killed himself. Now, how's he going to face that? And his dad being linked to the terrorists, who is responsible for most of what happened that day. It creates a gap in logic that I'm not sure I'm on board with. But that's just kind of how this season of 24 ended. And I know, again, it sounds like I'm being really negative about it. And for the most part, I really enjoyed the season. I really did. It's just the final episode was really blah. That's the best way to describe it. It's just blah. I mean, we got no closure, so I'm sure they're expecting for this series to be moving forward, and I think it was good enough to warrant a return to these characters. I do. Plus, I'm hoping somehow Jack can come back and we can at least wrap up his story somehow. Because it's been left open, and I don't like how it's been left open at all. So I'm hoping maybe they can tie that in, but Eric resolves things with his wife. All the issues she's brought up, all of a sudden she's just okay with it. It just kind of gets tied up in a neat little bow besides Rebecca's death, you know? I mean, the big bad guys, Nasiri and Ben Khalid, they don't amount to much of anything in the end. All they were going to do was execute Rebecca, and it seems kind of small time for what they were planning from the beginning, you know what I mean? Hell, they blew up the bridge and killed hundreds and hundreds of people on the bridge. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of gaps in logic in this season near the end, and it just doesn't all come together as smoothly as I think that they were hoping. And Eric accepting a job, going in the door with Mullins at the end, and then, boom. The show is over. And I was just sitting there kind of like, oh, okay, that's it? Alright. Makes sense. And then, of course, we had the final trope, or the final getting it to 24, in the end there where they progressed it, 11 hours so that we can actually end it on 24 hours. But, man, I don't know. I wasn't really fond of the last episode, but the season in general I enjoyed very much. So if I'm going to score the final 3 episodes of 24 Legacy, I'm going to give those a 6 out of 10, based on that final episode pretty much being about a 4 or 5. And overall for the season, I will give it a 7 out of 10. It was very, very enjoyable. I mean, it was so close to being one of the better seasons we've had of 24. I mean, it really was. For a long time there, it was really excellent. Kind of fell apart at the end. And that stinks. It does. Because it was on a very good trajectory. So I feel like a 7 for the whole season is a pretty good score. I don't know. You guys tell me what you thought of the final 3 episodes and the season in general of 24 Legacy. If you enjoyed this review and you want to see more in the future and all of our other segments on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. My name is Mike from the Super Wheeler Bros, and as always, my friends, have yourselves a super week.